I'm here with Oliver Dennis, star of Soulpepper's remounted production of Parfumerie. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me about Parfumerie.
In what sense? The story?
A bit about the story.
Well, it was written in the 1930s, early 1930s. It's a Hungarian play, and listeners might know movies that the play that it was taken from. The movies were based on the play. Mm-hmm. Little Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy Stewart. Yeah. There's a musical. I can't remember the name.
Yeah,
of it.
It's a weird version.
Something. Yeah.
With Judy Garland
yeah.
and what's his name? The silent film actor Buster Keaton has a small part.
Oh, is that right?
Too.
I haven't listened to it or seen it, so I don't know. And also the most modern one, I guess, is You've Got Mail.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Tom Hanks and
Meg Ryan. Yeah. And there was, I believe, also a musical version based off of it.
That's the one I was talking about.
Oh, sorry, the stage musical.
The stage musical,
oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, there was actually a
was there a
third
movie
film.
musical?
Yeah, there was
a
third film, with that one, yeah. I know, it's been around the block.
Yeah. Well, I think Brenda saw the Jimmy Stewart movie and loved it so much she looked through the credits and found who wrote it.
And Brenda being one of the
Brenda Robbins,
co-adapters,
co-adapter, and also in the play. And then she realized that she wanted to do the adaptation. She brought Adam on.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about the concept of the story.
Well, the story is of two people who work in Parfumerie. Mm-hmm. They can't stand each other. There's a man and a woman. They can't stand each other and just get on each other's nerves in the Parfumerie. They each of them has been carrying on a letter writing, pen pals, I suppose, for the past year and a half, and unbeknownst to them, it is each other, and they're deeply in love as letter writers, but can't stand each other in the perfume shop. So that's the basic premise of the story. It's very sweet.
And since the play was written in the 30s, as we mentioned, it's been adapted numerous times for a couple of different media. What do you think it is about the story that makes it so worth revisiting and that's so appealing to different artists at different time periods, even as you said up to the digital age and You've Got Mail?
Well, it's a very sweet love story, and I think the people fall in love with the truth of other individuals, and it takes away anything superficial of looks or behavior, or it's the essence of the person. Letter writing, there's not much hiding you can do. I suppose there's a lot of hiding you can do. You can lie about yourself, but these people are honest for the most part about themselves, and you can get deeper into philosophical conversations, and you don't have all the other extraneous things to worry about. I think that might be part of it.
The even the version You've Got Mail, I think, was made in 1998, which was before Google really exploded in a big way, and certainly before Facebook came onto the scene. Do you think this kind of story could exist in a contemporary setting? Do you think there would be any potential for that to be either readapted again, or simply for an audience that is so familiar with the concept of a total absence of kind of privacy or hidden identity in this day and age?
Well, yeah, I mean, my niece has just had. There's a guy in Australia that was Googling the name of my niece. Thought it was he had a friend with the same name, and came across my niece's picture, and they've been corresponding for the past little while, and they finally met this past month.
Really?
And so that, I mean, they can see pictures, and they can send videos and have Skype and things like that. But there is that kind of magic around.
So in a way, the anonymity is gone, but the potential for random encounter is even greater.
Yeah.
Interesting. You worked with the legendary Maurice Painich, who directed this show. Tell me a bit about his approach to actors, your approach to him as a director, and your collaboration as a whole.
Yeah, I adore working with him. He's very funny, and he's done his work. You know where he's coming from. he's got a great visual sense, a great sense of movement around the stage, and he speaks to actors like they know what they're doing. You know, if he's not satisfied with something, he goes, I'm not. You know, bluntly, sometimes I don't like that, and he trusts you to find something else. So one doesn't feel like one feels trust from him that you'll come up with something that he'll be satisfied with, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And no, he's a great director.
Wonderful.
He's very, very fun.
You've appeared in both comedic and dramatic productions, but I think it's fair to say you often most steal the show in your comedic roles. With I mean, even in the opening scene of Parfumerie, you, while keeping an entirely straight face, seem to defy gravity and leap over furniture and things like that. And I remember recently in the Fantastics, you had a kind of a more an equally physical role, but of an entirely different nature. But
right.
Again, you have this ability to both physically and just through pure acting chops, I think really evoke great comedic moments. Do you have a preference between each acting mode, between dramatic and comedic, and what do you think the challenges of each are?
I think my facility, my background is more for the comedic roles. Mm-hmm. It's not that I approach them as comedy roles. I guess I approach either one with the same ethic. Mm-hmm. But I'm certainly drawn to the comedy roles more, and I get them more. You said steal the show, and whenever I hear that,
maybe not steal the show.
No, but
steal a scene. Yeah.
I steal the scene. Because that's my intention couldn't be further from that. If you know what I mean. I'm just trying to do what the character's asking me to do, and oftentimes these characters that steal the scene were written to come above the play in a way. I don't know if you saw Leaving Home, but it's a marvelous play late David French wrote, and the character I played had not a word to say. He was on for quite a while, but he didn't say a word. He just got sort of drunker and drunker as the scene goes on, and it's a marvelous part. And it's and people still come up to me and say that's the sadly, because I didn't have any words, that's the best thing I've ever seen you in. But my point is, all you can do in a situation like that is sit and listen and react. And while people say that, there was a modicum of scene stealing in that one too, there's the furthest thing from my mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You mentioned or used the word facility and referring to the comedic parts. Do you find dramatic roles more challenging in a way, or are the challenges they equally challenging but different?
The challenge I find is because I haven't done them so much. I have an expectation of the way they should be played, and which is sort of death in playing it. If you have an expectation of how it should be played, you sort of have to start at the beginning and just play the reality of the scene and play with your scene partners and so because I've done more comedy, I intrinsically know that about comedy. In drama, the more dramatic roles, I have a tendency to put on character, put on voices, or put on attitudes, or put on, as opposed to staying in the scene, staying with the truth of the words and the thoughts. Mm-hmm.
You've been with Soulpepper for probably nearly as long as anyone. I think the credits in the program say 40 productions.
Yeah. It's I was in the first season of the two plays.
Oh,
we did
so
the first season.
member.
I'm not a founding member.
Oh, okay. But you have been there since since the very beginning. Do you have a favorite production? I know they must all feel like children in a certain sense.
They really do. That sounds horrible,
Yeah.
like I'm evading the question, but they do. There are. I mean, of course, I do have characters that I love to play and will always look fondly on. Malvolio was a part that I didn't think I'd ever play, and I got a chance to play it. This past season, Eggs of the King was I think a brilliant production of a brilliant play, and an actor doesn't often get a chance to play a role like that. Those are two that stand in mind right now. In Dr. Gibbs in our town, I've played 4 times, and I am very grateful to have been in that play, let alone played it 4 times. It's just, you hear the thoughts of these brilliant people night after night, and you hope that they affect you some way, as well as affect the audience. So,
you, Albert Schultz, and Joseph Ziegler open up your own shop. What do you sell, and who performs what role?
Well, Brenda Robbins has this wonderful idea to open a shop that sells paraphernalia for the acting company, and one of her ideas was to have pillows that had our faces on it. And I've always joked that I would have I'd have to go on the back of Stu Hughes's pillow to piggyback his popularity, because nobody would buy a pillow with my face on it. Well, Albert would definitely be the owner. I wouldn't say absentee by any means, because he'd have his hand in every pot. I think pretty much the Parfumerie, Joe would be the manager, and I would be yeah, I'll do that. Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
You want me to do that? Sure, I'll do that. Yeah.
There you go. Art imitates life, and vice versa. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Justin.